Sound. I'm your host, Garrett Ray. Welcome to the show. With me are three of the best people in the entire world. One who was burped and across the table can be smelled by another person. We have Micah Warber-Jagerman Jensen, the gas factory.
Only out my mouth.
Only out his mouth. And we have Abby Kate.
Hi.
Who is just a giggle factory.
Only out her mouth.
Only out her mouth. And we have Katie Fade, who is a textile factory. Believe it or not, she generates a lot of clothes.
Only
Pretty
out her
much,
mouth.
yeah.
Only out of the mouth. Look, it's a new sweater.
Marvelous.
So this is the show where four completely unqualified people talk about movies, TV shows, entertainment in general, and stuff that goes on behind the scenes of some of your favorite classics, non-classics, and maybe that G-Force movie where it's all about
all
about gerbils or whatever, hamsters, guinea pigs. Guinea
That's
pigs.
why the G.
Nicolas Cage is a mole in that one, so that's pretty.
Oh, I should probably see it then.
It's worth watching to hear Nicolas Cage go, "I don't believe you guys are this evil." Whoa.
Oh, no.
Which is a perfect recreation of that character. Actually, he's the bad guy. Spoiler alert, sorry. I know, I just ruined the movie of the year for everyone. Normally, this is the part of the show where we talk... I'm sorry. You know, every man dreams of hearing his wife say, "I hate you," on a recording where everyone can hear it. Thank you for making my dreams come true.
You're welcome.
I hate you too.
That's the sweetest thing ever.
That was so depressing. Anyway, so normally this is the part of the show where we go and do news. This is the part of the show where normally we would do a news section. However, we're recording 3 podcasts back to back to back, and there is no extra news that's happened between 2 hours ago and now. So we're just going to go right into the episode. Yay! Everybody gets to not listen to me try to be Walter Cronkite. Woo! Is he still relevant?
What?
No. All right.
It's okay.
I'm an old soul.
We are moving on.
Moving on. That's going to be our catchphrase. Just moving on. So, a series of unfortunate events came out on Friday the 13th, January 2017. I feel like I did that out of order. That was like the European way of doing dates. Day, month, year. Woo.
Makes more sense.
Yeah.
Communist. So
Order of length.
that makes sense, but also communist.
Yeah.
So, but basically, the series came out, and it so far has been a critical darling in the media. And I thought it would be a lot of fun to take a look back on the movie that came out in 2004 that starred Jim Carrey and some children. Which is what they're credited as. It's just the children played by the children. So I remember watching this movie as a kid. I loved everything about it as a kid. Abby, you said you had similar thoughts.
I watched it, I think, for the first time when I was like 11 or 12. Loved it. And I think looking back now, I did not realize then just how dark the film was.
Yeah, this whole series is messed up.
It's great.
Katie, did you watch this movie as a kid as well?
Once or twice, but I had to rewatch it just to kind of refresh my memory.
Yeah.
I think I'm when I write stuff, I normally write things that are very depressing, and I think this is where that started for me. So I was just like, I can be sadder. Micah, do you have fond memories of this from when you were a kid?
No, I hated it when I was a kid.
Really?
Yeah. I remember when myself and my siblings were children, our mother would read us those Lemony Snicket books.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you started with the books.
We started with the books, and we really loved the books. We read all of them. And we saw the movie, and we were very upset because it wasn't true to the books.
Yeah.
We were very upset.
Things are very out of order in the movie.
Yeah. And anyway, I watched it again recently, and I've forgotten everything about the books, and I loved it.
Cool. So what we've covered here is that ignorance is indeed bliss.
It's true.
It's not a problem if you don't look up.
Yep.
Jen Erso said that, and it rings true today. which is the same day as the last time we said it because we're recording back to back. So I loved this movie when I was growing up, and I'm very excited that we're getting a chance to kind of take a look back at it. I could have just rented it on iTunes and spent $4, but I bought it because this is probably going to be like a monthly thing for me, just watching that movie. So I've done a full report, which sounds a lot less boring than it is, I promise, about kind of the...
You said that wrong.
Yeah.
Did I?
Yeah, you said it's a lot less, or that sounds a lot less boring than it is.
Oh, poop.
Buckle
You just
in.
lost some viewers.
Here we go.
I mean,
Don't
not
worry, they're
viewers.
doing.
If you're still here, thank you for
Hearers.
lending me your ears. It's going to be not boring. I lied so that the non-fun people would go away.
You're so
So,
weird.
never mind. No, it's not even.
I'll take that as a compliment, Abby. Thanks. So now that the losers are gone, let's get into the episode and talk about a series of unfortunate events. A movie inspired by books that are credited to an author who doesn't exist because it's a pen name.
It's a really great pen name, too.
Yes. I have a question for Katie. What do you think the plot of this movie was?
The plot of this movie, a series of unfortunate events.
Well said.
Seriously, though.
Yeah.
Or for those of you who don't like words with more than 2 syllables, bad things happen.
Good job.
A lot.
And then the rest of our viewers were gone. I mean, listeners, darn it. This is so difficult.
Hearers.
Hearers. No, that's not right.
No, it's listeners.
Go to the corner.
I know.
Yeah.
Think about
So
what you
I thought
said.
about it for a second, and I was like,
Hearers.
those who hear.
Some fun stuff that happened behind the scenes. Originally, Barry Sonnenfeld was attached to direct the movie. He directed all the Men in Black movies and a couple of other stuff that you'll be familiar with. But he dropped out as director, and I'll get into that a little bit later. But he actually ended up producing the TV series for Netflix and also directed 4 of the episodes. So this is something that's kind of been, at least 13 years worth of his life that he's kind of been in and out of this project. So very, very interesting. He did still produce the movie as well, if I remember correctly, but he didn't take on the directing duties like he was originally going to do. So there are some characters, and I'll just introduce them real quick. We've got Count Olaf, the evil character who Katie says I should play. Don't know how to take that. But he's played by Jim Carrey, who I think... I'm going to go out of the gate and start comparing the movie to the TV series a little bit. Jim Carrey's a better Count Olaf. Neil Patrick Harris is probably more accurate to what it is in the books from what I've read. I haven't read the books, so I can't comment or speculate too much. But Jim Carrey's more entertaining.
Yeah.
And he's less Neil Patrick Harris-y.
Not a fan.
Heresy. It's in the name.
Whoa.
And now we're going to the Vatican. Anyway, so I don't know. I'm not going to cut that out because it's not worth my time. But
Great.
maybe it is. Who knows? You do,
Maybe it's
listener.
not worth their time.
Maybe it's not. Why are we still talking about it?
Let's continue. Moving on.
Anyway, so I think Jim Carrey's more interesting than Neil Patrick Harris is. I'm not a giant Neil Patrick Harris fan, but mostly because he's just always Neil Patrick Harris for me. Like he's not a nuanced actor, and he doesn't like disappear into his
He's
characters.
just all one character.
Yeah.
He's like Tom
Like-
Cruise.
Yeah.
Yeah, except he can't run as cool.
He's probably taller.
Yeah. Tom Cruise is like
Super short.
He's really
he
small.
was. Didn't he start out on?
Apple boxes.
I was gonna
He's
say
still
that
on-
show about the midgets, but what is that? Little People, Big World.
Yeah.
That's the
Yes, that's the one he started out on. Confirmed. We've also got Klaus, Violet, and Sonny Baudelaire, who are our protagonists throughout this story. Jude Law is Lemony Snicket, so he does the narration through the movie. If you don't know who Jude Law is, he was
Shame on you.
Oh, yeah, okay. Just shame on you. You stink. So Jude Law was he was in both of the new Sherlock Holmes movies, the ones with Robert Downey Jr. So very, very fun to have him in there. Catherine O'Hara stars as Justice Strauss. And I say stars, I mean has a supporting role.
Yeah.
I get those two confused all the time. Anyway, interesting enough, she's in the Netflix series as well, playing a different character.
Oh, that's fun.
So, Interesting that Catherine O'Hara always ends up in movies about children who are abandoned. She does the abandoning in Home Alone, but then she's just kind of a jerk in the rest. And we've got a bunch of Olaf's minions and stuff. Meryl Streep's in there as well. Billy Connolly. Let's see. There was someone I was gonna make. Craig Ferguson is in the movie as the person of intermediate gender, and he never says a word, which is why I didn't know it was Craig Ferguson until I read that.
That's funny.
But he's in there, so cool little thing. So the film also featured uncredited appearances by Jane Lynch as a realtor, Helena Bonham Carter as Beatrice Baudelaire, and Dustin Hoffman as a critic. And Dustin Hoffman is great no matter what he's in. I love Dustin Hoffman. If you want to see a fantastic, understated performance by that actor, watch Stranger Than Fiction. He plays a literature professor. He's fan-freaking-tastic. I love that movie. That's one of my favorites of all time, if not my favorite. So Carrey was Jim Carrey, not like Carrey, the Stephen King character. Jim Carrey was not familiar with the book series when he was cast, but he became a fan of the series. Handler is that the actual last name of the author. Handler's books are just a bold and original way to tell a children's story, the actor explained. Carrey was also attracted to the role despite self-parody concerns. So he's playing someone who is known as a bad actor, and people are like, yeah, but don't you think that's a bit on the nose? Like, does that give you the right to slap a person? What was that noise? It's like someone opened a tiny door.
That's what it felt like in my throat.
How many doors do you have in your throat?
There was a little bit of air being, pushed out in the back of my throat, and just kind of like...
I really hope the mic picks that up. Director Brad Sieberling was open to Carrey's idea of improvisation for various scenes, especially the Stefano and Captain Sham alter egos.
Gosh,
So this is one of the things that you, having read the books when you were a kid, you probably felt like Olaf was a bit different than he was in the novels.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that they do say in the TV series. It's closer to the character in the novel, but I still think that Jim Carrey was more entertaining. Mm-hmm. He's more fun and lively and tall. To make his prosthetic makeup more comfortable and easier to apply, Carrey shaved his head bald for the part. So there's some dedication. Like, Christian Bale can get skinny all he wants. Jim Carrey shaved his head.
I have a question. Would you shave your head for a part?
Would it make you mad?
No.
Yeah, then maybe not.
It shows dedication.
I'd shave my head for you.
Why would I ever ask you to shave your head?
It's so hard to be loving sometimes.
Maybe if you go bald.
So the differences between the movie and the books, there are definitely some. Micah, this is what made you so angry as a child and led to you, I assume, running away from home and joining the circus?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What'd you do at the circus?
I'm just kind of a helping hand. I move boxes around and stuff like that.
Did you ever have to shovel elephant dung?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. How was that?
Heavy.
Moving on. So Olaf never parks his car on the train tracks in the books. That is a scene made up entirely for the movie, and I'm glad they did it because it's one of my favorite scenes.
It's really fun.
It is so much fun. Violet uses a grappling hook to climb up and save Sunny in the books from the cage on the tower, but in the movie, Klaus climbs up the tower to get her. With the way they rearranged the movie, I see why they did that, especially now that I've seen the TV show. But I do think that the grappling hook was kind of an opportunity to show Violet's inventiveness in the books and subsequently in the show. But in the movie, we get to see her do some real inventive stuff in the car scene, so it kind of took the place of that. So I understand why people be like, no, that's not how it happened. But I also think that it was almost a good change, if not a change that didn't really hurt anything.
Right.
Unless you're 7-year-old Micah.
Yeah.
Poor 7-year-old Micah.
Olaf's disguise is different in the movie at Uncle Monty's house, but the TV show does get it right. In the TV show and in the books, he's wearing big spectacles. He's got a long beard. His head is shaved, and he wears a white lab coat. In the movie, he's got the yellow jacket, and he talks like this. And I am an Italian man. I think they did a real good job with the facial reconstruction, even though my mustache is a bit askew. So, again, I don't think it was a change that really hurt anything. It was just a different direction. But I do like that Jim Carrey's was more fun.
It was really funny.
And in scenes where he's just rambling on in the background, like they're showing the children like writing letters on a snake, but you can still hear him. And none of the sentences that he's saying tie together. It doesn't make any sense, and it's fantastic.
It's just Jim Carrey rambling. There's a great part where Uncle Monty is trying to like test him to see if he really is who he says he is, and he hands him the snake, and he goes, "Would you mind milking Petunia for me?" And he's like, "Oh, I they used to call me the milkmaid back in school, but the little udders, they're so hard to find."
I believe I left my equipment back in the car.
I'm gonna go just check on that.
Take a gander.
Yeah, take a gander. That's a gander. Go take a gander. I just love he's looking at the snake like the little udders are just so hard to find.
It's just so
I had to pause the movie last night because I was laughing so hard to write it down. Anyway, more differences between the movie and the books. In the movie, Olaf doesn't actually push Josephine off of a boat into the lake with the lacrimose leeches. In the book, he does actually shove her off the boat and kills her, whereas in the movie, he kind of just like...
lets her go.
It's kind of the same because he does kind of like hold on to her so she can't keep her balance on the boat.
Also, if she'd have stayed on the boat, she would have been eaten anyway.
Yeah.
So...
but
either way,
in any case, the small difference, and Micah had to go to many months of counseling for that.
It's true.
In the movie, the wedding plot is the final point of the film, but in the books, Count Olaf attempts to, execute this plan while he's still their guardian before they ever go to live with any of the other guardians. So that's the first book, as actually it's... big thing is that he's trying to marry her while being her legal guardian, which I'm not sure how that wasn't, if that's so much as a loophole, but all the adults in this universe are idiots.
Yeah.
Like, they are stupid. Mr. Poe is, without a doubt, one of the most idiotic characters in the entire world.
Yeah.
They don't really show it that much in the movie, but in the TV show, you guys have got to watch it simply to see how many times he's the stupidest man alive.
Yeah, he made me physically angry.
I would look over and she's just gnashing her teeth.
I would say, though, it's the only role of Timothy Spall that is remotely likable. That guy is
Good
just the worst in everything he's in. And he's great at being the worst. He's great at what he does. But this one, he was kind of like charming in his own way. That was nice to see for him.
Yeah. One of my favorite shots in all of movie history, and this is linked to my nostalgia as a child, but when we see Sunny biting the edge of the table and then the camera flips and she's hanging off, that is one of my favorite things to look at ever.
She's just dangling.
She's just
the feet, like kicking her legs.
Just like the perfect little like she's just kind of chilling out. She has so many great lines for someone who doesn't talk.
Yeah.
I love where she, she's like, Count Olaf is creepy or whatever, and he just leans in and goes, "I'm sorry, I don't speak monkey," and then he keeps calling her a monkey throughout the rest of the movie.
Didn't they keep that line for the series? It seemed like they did.
I can't remember.
Because I kind of feel like I remember Neil saying that too.
Yeah, but they didn't harp on it as much.
Yeah,
it definitely was like if it was there, and then they dropped it off. But
yeah,
but this one it was kind of like that consistency.
Like when he says soda, banana. And then Sunny says, "Bite me."
Bite me. Soda, banana. I love that. Speaking of the train scene, okay, so there's so much cool about this train scene. The little elf being on the back when it goes that right before it falls and she bites the head off. I loved that. That was just a brilliant moment of sound design. when he's in there and he walks in and he goes, "Hello, I'm going on a picnic with my children whom I love. Where are your sodas?" And,
Is that clock correct?
yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Is that clock correct? I loved that whole scene. I need to find exactly what it's called so I don't call it the wrong thing. But that environment they're in, so in the TV series they use a lot of animated backgrounds. It's very much green screen. Mm-hmm. But they used a lot of practical sets on this so that the kids would have something to interact with. And before I give my opinion, what do you guys think about the actors, the kids?
Honestly, I think they did well. I think someone could make the argument that they didn't have enough character, but at the same time, I think that's how they were supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, no kid is that smart or that,
Between the series and the movie, I think the movie's actors were better.
Really?
By a long shot, yeah.
Really?
Part of that's the scripting, though, because I think the TV series is closer to the way the books are written. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of, like, that means the blah, 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 and the kids have to go, we know what that means. And that's, like, a running gag throughout the show, but it feels very stiff. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things about books and being adapted to movies is that you run the risk of stuff that works in a book sounding awkward when someone actually says it out loud. And so I think they did a really good job of adapting that out and still kind of keeping the way that the characters feel.
I love the characters. I think they're funny.
Yeah, honestly, there wasn't anyone I watched in this movie when I don't really like that.
Yeah.
And you guys know me. I'm critical of everything. I'm just an angry man.
I mean, the characters in the series, they're not bad acting. It's not bad acting at all, in my opinion.
But I think the script kind of gives them all a really hard time, which is sad. But anyway, but they use this thing that basically they made a 360 degree painting around the train track scene. So what you're seeing is actually something that they had practically there on set, and you can kind of, if once you know that, you can look at it and see it and go, okay, I see it's a painting. Mm-hmm. But it's so beautifully made, and it's everywhere. Mm-hmm. And the train wasn't there for real though, so they didn't paint that. That was created by Industrial Light and Magic because Lucasfilm is everywhere. This is one of the earlier films made under the Nickelodeon movies banner. I think the next one they did was actually the Spiderwick Chronicles, which is okay. Books are better.
Yeah, I never even saw the movies because I was really into the books.
Yeah, I love the books. The movie, there are no dwarves, or none of the dwarves. Huh. So you don't get to see the underground stuff. There's no puka, which is one of my favorite creatures in that whole thing because it's really creepy. So yeah. Anyway, different movie for a different day. But they did that so that the kids would have stuff to interact with and look at, and so I think that probably helped them a lot.
Yeah.
But they were talented kids.
Yeah.
So
another thing about the sets, I love the way everything looked. It had this really weird, like, kind of gothic vibe to it, and this weird sort of just kind of creepy vibe, but also this cartoony feel to it. And it just gave the whole movie as a whole this feeling of an old fairy tale, like the old ones that were messed up, where people's toes and stuff got chopped off. And I think that's kind of what this story is. It's just a new fairy tale that isn't afraid to get weird and terrible and gory even,
Right, and I love that they kind of start the whole thing off with, if you're looking for the littlest elf, there's still room in theater too.
Yeah.
Like, I implore you, go away.
Right.
I will say, I made a note of in the TV series, Patrick Warburton is Lemony Snicket, and when I was watching it, I was like, I like his voiceover better. But the two versions have very different tones. So Patrick Warburton is better for the TV show by far. Jude Law fits the tone of this film very well. So they were both well cast. At first I was like, Patrick Warburton was more entertaining, but he's also in it a lot more, so we get to learn more about him. He gets to crack jokes and stuff like that. So it's so hard to choose. Yeah. I have some typewriter things to talk about because I'm an old soul. The typewriter that Lemony Snicket uses to type out all the story of the Baudelaires, I own that typewriter.
Oh,
Nice.
that's exciting.
It is a 1943 Royal Quiet Deluxe, and I have one. And I'm 107.
Oh God, I married an old man.
I wrote our vows on that. So it was real cute. Also, when the incredibly deadly Viper jumps out at Sonny and he cuts away, they use a shot of him. You know, the incredibly deadly Viper was jumping out. Then later on, when they are out on the Lachrymose Lake, and Josephine is about to fall in. When they cut away from Josephine getting killed in the lake, the shot of the typewriter does not say anything about the lake at all. It reads, when suddenly the Viper leapt out at...
That's funny.
That's not an edit right there. It just, they only had the letter A, so I was trying to throw that in there. So they reused the same shot, and I never noticed that as a kid, but now I'm picky. So,
It's a little bit lazy.
yeah, so it's like... I mean, granted, for Boomshot, our weekly series where we talk about, you know, making films and the process behind that, we've used that typewriter, and it is difficult to type on that sucker, so I almost don't blame them, but these people got paid a lot more money than I did,
Right.
so they can
Like,
be
they got paid.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
I'm over here like, yeah, we get paid, you know, a certain amount a week, and then I'm like, wait, no,
How much do I get paid for this, babe?
I will give you 3 hugs.
At least.
5 at most. We gotta
I prefer
put a
Hershey's
cap
Kisses.
on
Yeah.
this. Ugh, you're so
get
gross.
ridiculous.
People are listening.
Okay, I really love how you can't tell what time period it's set in.
Yeah, and they
Yeah.
threw in little elements of steampunk into it in
Yeah.
the production design to kind of make it a little bit more off.
Right.
Um,
And it all seems so Victorian, but then you've got things like sunglasses.
Yeah.
And Mr. Poe says you can send it by fax. And it's just like,
Yeah, it's just kind
where
of
are
this mix
we?
mash of time periods. I think that's part of the thing that makes it so whimsical and fun. Is it's like it's a mix of a whole bunch of different worlds, but it's fully fleshed out.
Yeah.
Like these are things that they're not like, oh well, we're mixing these things. It's just this is what exists here.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of those things. Granted, a lot of that is due to the author, and thank you, Lemony Snicket or Hardy Boy or whatever your name was. But I think that's one of those things that's, you know, that sets certain books apart, certain stories, is that full developed world, and I think that's why I love it so much, is because it just feels real
Yeah.
in its own non-real way.
Yeah.
That sounded a lot deeper than it was. That was really just me losing my mind. All right, I'm gonna go eat some couch now.
My favorite little gizmo in there that kind of built that whole world that was just kind of silly and whimsical was the dashboard of his car with like,
Why did it
the
have 5 mirrors? I wrote that
loved it.
down. I was looking at it, I was like,
It was my favorite thing.
and it was,
So
and it's
good.
one of my favorite sight gags because you see his eye in every single one of them. I love Jim Carrey's ad libs and improv in this because there's like that scene where he goes, "You are never to go in the tower." And he bends in and does that, you know, that famous shot of his eye being real huge,
Yeah.
and Klaus is looking at him terrified, and he turns around and he goes. And I just love the look on his face.
I almost feel like that was a blooper, like him giggling at himself, and they just kept it.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
good.
But
That's
I mean, the
great.
director encouraged him to do this stuff, to go off and be more rambunctious and rowdy than the character was in the book. To kind of like, and I think that almost makes him more evil to me because it's like there's just this glee in what he's doing that I love.
And I feel like in the series, Neil was just dry a lot of the time.
Yeah. He was just, I'm a bad guy.
Like,
Snarl lip.
That's kind of
Pretty
how he
much.
was in the books. He was just kind of the bad guy.
Yeah.
He was just like, evil. And of course, you could play him more like that and less of the.
I mean, he had
But
his
yeah,
own funny parts, but it's just, it was,
It's not Jim Carrey.
yeah, it's not Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
That must have been so hard for those kids on set. Jim Carrey improving stuff. Like, how hard would it be to not laugh at that?
That's one of those things, like, when I say they did a really good job, it's
They
because
kept
they
straight
withstood
faces
that.
the
That's
entire
incredible.
time. Like, that's impressive.
I'm sure there are plenty of bloopers of them just going,
Yeah.
I would love to be on set with Jim Carrey.
Oh, yeah.
that was so much fun. I'll work on it.
Please do, because
I
that would
love
be great.
when Mr. Poe drops the kids off and he goes, "Don't worry, Mr. Poe, I will raise them as if they are wanted."
Yeah, so good.
It's just those little things like that are just like so off, but he pulls it off so well. It's so much fun to watch. And he just has so much great stuff. Like when during the train scene when he's sitting there and the train's about to hit them, and he goes, the train misses and he doesn't hear the crash. And it's just his movements are so, and that's just Jim Carrey, but his movements are so animated. I love when he goes out there to like say goodbye to the kids, and he pops the eye drops and just squirts them, and he turns off, take them away before I lose it big time.
Yeah, the continuous stream in both eyes.
Like it's not tears, it's just waterfall. I gotta say the I have to say that. So I hope
All
you guys
now it's on
can
the
appreciate
table.
that I got that off my chest. The music in this movie is when the theme that happens when the train thing first becomes an issue. That kind of like intriguing music. I can't tell what instrument it was played on, but it's just like when that hits, I don't know, it just makes me so happy. And then it kind of builds to that, into the danger, and kind of like it just flows so well. And it's not the type of thing that will ever get like Star Wars recognition, obviously. But for me, that music has been something I can always recall. And that's something you can't hum one Marvel music theme that's not Iron Man by AC/DC.
Oh, I can't even remember the plot of any Marvel movie.
See, and that's the thing. This movie has those little touches that are memorable. Mm-hmm. And I really wish that it had done better and that they had gone on to do a series of it, because it had all the little pieces that made it fun to watch. And I go and watch movies now, and it's just like there's just not as much fun. Which sounds crazy coming from me, because I just set out to make people cry when I write something. but this movie is so much fun to watch, even though a lot of people die. I may just have deeper issues than I need to deal with.
What do you mean it's not fun when my mom dies?
That's hilarious.
Everybody died in the fire. It's great. Wait.
Why aren't you people laughing? Get out of my theater. So, yeah, there's so much fun stuff in there. In the show, I forget the actress's name who plays Josephine, but in the movie she's played by Meryl Streep, and she was so much like in the TV show. The actress, she's annoying to me. We didn't like those
hated her.
episodes. Meryl Streep was definitely the right choice for this.
Yes.
Of course.
And plus, I'm a big Meryl Streep fan, so it could be biased. So.
And as they said on Modern Family, you could pick Meryl Streep to play Batman and she'd be the right choice.
Pretty much.
And it is 100% true. She was so much, and I love that they added in this little detail of, she keeps pointing out all these things that can go wrong, like that she's terrified of.
Love
And when the
that.
house falls apart, all of
those
things
things
happen. Jinx. So I love that little detail, and all of that was like, the way that things were happening, that was such a well-made scene.
It really was.
It was cut together in such a way that you understood the geometry of the scene, and you could follow what was going and see, how the kids were seeing stuff, and things were. There wasn't any like gimmicky stuff to it. Mm-hmm. And the special effects, again, ILM did a great job in this with blending it in with the environment they were in.
I gotta say, the special effects on this movie were they're better than what most movies are today.
Right?
It's
Yeah.
weird. Like, most things today look like a stupid video game, but this was just like, you're in it, and it doesn't seem different or anything. It's
Yeah.
just great.
And I think part of the
flowed.
reason why is that they were designed to complement the set they were on, and they weren't, for one, they weren't having to build everything from scratch, and two, they weren't trying to steal the show with it. So we have something that's meant to complement the story, to complement the shots they've already got. And it's not trying to be the center of attention, where your main bad guy is a robot flying around who always has a billion more of himself. Age of Ultron. So I really love that scene. It's different in the TV show. I keep saying that, but it's true. It's kind of more like whimsical and played out like, the end credit scene where all these things are happening. It's the paper cutouts in this movie. It was like that, but in live action.
Oh.
a lot of it just seemed like. Granted, they're working with a smaller budget, obviously,
Right.
but I feel like a lot of it just seemed too cheesy and kind of out of place from the rest of the way that the series looked. So I don't know. I wasn't as big a fan.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, just along with everything happening that she was afraid of happening. And it's like the kids are watching these things happen, but then the last thing is the flame hitting the doorknob.
Yeah.
And Violet's just like,
Are you
no
got to be
way.
kidding
She's
me.
like, oh my gosh. That was the one that I was expecting not to happen.
Right,
You know,
yeah.
it's just really, it's great.
Yeah, I love that scene so much. And then just they didn't go as into detail of decoding the note. I feel like they probably could have given that a little bit more breath, and they definitely do in the TV show because they're padding time. But I feel like they could have given it a little bit. I'm ripping it apart, but I actually did like it. Just didn't like
It's
it
just
as
a great
much.
movie.
So-
also, there's nostalgia that goes into that. So.
Right, but
lot of
also it's good. No one, I'll fight you.
I know.
But I feel like they could have given us a little bit more. But he just kind of writes out the thing. It was okay. It wasn't a deal breaker for me at all.
I have a question, and it could just be part of the way the movie is. How did Aunt Josephine get to Curdled Cave?
In the books, I believe she has a personal water vehicle at the bottom of underneath the house.
I was just wondering.
Yeah, I can't remember. It's been years.
In the TV show, she has a pink jet ski thing.
That's
In the
great.
movie, when the house starts to fall apart and things start flying out the window, the thing falls on the boat, and I believe it's the Aflac duck gets up and flies out with "Wah!" And I don't know if that's the most brilliant product placement or just a joke.
Well, I laughed way too hard at that scene. And I believe he actually had to pause it because I was just laughing.
I had to pause it so that we could focus on the rest of the movie and make notes.
Another thing I just thought of, just another gizmo that I'd love so much, was the weird little ferry boat thing that they used to get the car across the lake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looks like they're in the
paddling.
car and the paddles.
The
You're
guy's
like,
pedaling
what
it.
is happening? And then we go out and it's just like he's reading the newspaper. Paddle, 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 paddle,
Big
paddle.
absurd machine.
I wish they could have. Maybe not. This would have been too absurd. But they could have gone with the gag of this real scrawny guy and his legs are huge.
That'd be a real Tim Burton-y thing to do.
Yeah.
That's an interesting point. I'll get to that later on. There are there are two shots that I wrote down that I loved the way that they shot these things. And both of them have to do with Count Olaf. First off, when the train starts to arrive, we cut to the shot. We're inside the fridge, and Carrie's going through the. I say Carrie. Olaf is going through these. They're the same person. He's going through these sodas. Also, he says surprise as surprise every time.
Yeah.
Which is a great little character touch that I love. He goes, watermelon surprise. And then not the water bottles, but the soda bottles start shaking as the train gets closer. And so there's this little push in, and he just kind of looks up past the camera, and we see the wheels turning and the excitement going. And it's this great little character moment that shows just how, he's planning this out. He's savoring this moment because it's victory. As everything starts to shake and get more hectic, he gets more excited and kind of eerily calm about how things are going. And I loved that character moment. And another one, oh my gosh, I loved this shot. When he is in Uncle Monty's house and he goes, well, isn't it time you kids go to bed? And if you need anything, just remember, I'm right down the hall, and I'm a light sleeper. In fact, I hardly sleep at all. And then we cut to this scene,
With the knife.
and he's out of focus. The door to the Baudelaire's children is in focus, and the light is placed perfectly so that as he rocks back and forth, it glints.
Glints on the knife.
And it's this so super menacing shot. And when Violet opens the door and peeks out, and he goes, "Do you have a hall pass?" He stops where the knife is lit up, and it's this beautifully lit shot that like it's so menacing. We never have to see him. He's out of focus, but that presence is there, and it's one of those things where I look at it and I go, that is a brilliant bit of filmmaking. That is telling a story and capturing an emotion in one shot, and we don't have to cut back and forth every 2.5 seconds. And it's just, I love that shot so much. I'm geeking out right now.
No, it's great. And that shot terrified me when I was a child.
Right?
Like,
I peed a little.
There would be times when I would be like
I peed a little this time.
I would be like about to come out of my room and I'd be like, that image of him sitting in the rocking chair with that knife would pop in my head and be like, yeah, I don't actually have to pee.
Yeah, I've only watched it once or twice as a kid, but and I forgot about that shot until I watched it last night, and I was like, "Oh, I remember that." I was like, "I remember doing this, going
just covering your eyes,
and just like." Oh.
I think we're on an audio program because I remember doing this. It was just silence.
What? My bad.
For those of you who are listening to this podcast, all two of you, Katie put her hands over her eyes in a sign of fear.
Yeah, I gotta say, that's probably one of the most sinister shots in the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of cool stuff that they did visually with this movie. Like, for instance, when we go to... I'm getting into the nerd portion of my report here. But when they talk about Klaus being a bookworm and he reads things and he remembers everything, when he remembers something, we don't get this long shot of his eyebrow going... I remember, and just bouncing back and forth like a dancing caterpillar, because that's Jim Carrey's job. But instead, we cut to these shots of these books popping out of a shelf in his mind, and so we get to see like the titles of the stuff that he's read, and it's this great, visual example of him going through this encyclopedia he's built, and I just love that so much because it's just different, it's new, it's inventive, it's this noise is good when the books come out.
And just did that much more for building up the world because all the books would have the little weird, quirky titles.
Yeah.
And it's just great.
Yeah, it's. Oh. So it's safe to say we liked it better than Rogue One, right?
They're two completely different genres. You can't.
Don't play with my emotions like this. So,
it's just one of those. It's just one of those movies that you recall from your childhood, and then you watch again. You're like, it's still good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's still really good. And I have, like, almost zero complaints.
Yeah.
If any. Like, I can't think of anything that I would say, yeah, I didn't like that.
Yeah.
No.
And that's so weird for me because that's where I find the joy in my life.
There's only one moment where I wasn't down with what was going on.
Well, you got to be a spoil sport, don't you?
Yeah, I do. But it was the only time.
I think I might agree with you.
It was towards the beginning of the movie, when the banker brings the kids over, and Jim Carrey is there, and they're just standing there, and they just finish a conversation or something. He just goes like for no reason.
Yeah, he did that a couple times, and sometimes it was funny, sometimes it was like, all right.
The first time it was just like there was no reason for that, and it wasn't even funny. So that was my only complaint, really.
Other times he did it, though. What did you think about those times?
Those times were fine. Those times fit in, and they were following or preceding something.
Yeah.
Where they related, but that was just totally out of everything, and I don't know why it was there.
Yeah. I think he's just weird.
Yeah.
I think it's just Jim Carrey because that's just him.
He makes that noise. I just imagine he's going to pay for milk. How are you doing?
I feel like there's other movies he does that.
Oh, he does that in every movie.
In most, yeah.
Yeah. He does that in The Cable Guy and The Mask. And
yeah.
He does that a lot in The Mask.
Yeah. Cable Guy's really good. That's another one that's really sinister.
I haven't seen that in a while. I've only seen like bits and pieces of it at a time.
Oh, really? You should watch that.
I'm passing the charger around between computers so that we can keep recording without them dying.
Time to give this one a drink. Take it from mine, put it in yours, now take it from yours, put it in Katie's.
Poor thirsty computer. I'm so sorry. So, yeah. Let's see. What else did I have to talk about with this? A lot. So, let me cut to a couple little my favorite things from the ending of the movie. The play that they put on is called Count Olaf, The Marvelous Marriage. But the banner that they dropped down, I paused the movie to write down because there was like layers of this. The banner that they dropped down has an M painted over the C in carriage. So it was the Marvelous Carriage, but they've changed it with a big red M to be marriage. And so they stole this from a different production. It also says written by Al Fung Koot, which is an anagram of Count Olaf.
Oh.
And fun fact, this is one of the things I didn't look up on the internet. I figured it out myself.
Nice.
I'm a smart boy. I want a cookie.
We have none, sorry.
Actually, that's not true. I bought double stuffed Oreos today.
Oh,
But you shouldn't eat them because your tummy's sick.
you suck.
It's for when you're better. Patting
Anyway.
your shoulder isn't helping much
Moving
right now,
on.
is it? So, that's just a great visual joke. And then there are... Okay, I do have a complaint. There are 3 shots of Mr. Poe's car driving. One when he pulls up to Uncle Monty's house, and then 2 when they're like at the end. And it's all CG, and the movement looks weird. It doesn't quite fit. It looks like it's kind of like moving too slow, and the environment doesn't have enough perspective to it. So that's my only complaint. But I would also like to say that Jim Carrey goes, "Let's go back to the prehistoric times."
Oh my god.
And it's brilliant.
Fantastic.
And if you're listening to that and going, "What on earth?" Go get the movie and watch it.
Oh my god.
Because you will love it. So, just all around, it's been re-released as of the 24th. You can get it on Amazon now for like $7, something like that. Definitely worth the money. If you have kids, you'll love it. If you are a kid, you'll love it. If you're a kid at heart, you'll love it. If you are Neil Patrick Harris, you'll be jealous of it.
Aw.
And so there we go. So I want to talk a little bit about the development of this show or this movie because it's an interesting little ride through the entertainment industry, if you will. And you will because I'm going to read it. So Nickelodeon Movies purchased the film rights in May of 2000. Paramount Pictures, owner of Nickelodeon Movies, agreed to co-finance along with Scott Rudin. No idea who he is. Various directors, including Terry Gilliam and Roman Polanski, were interested in making the film. One of the author Daniel Handler's favorite candidates was Guy Madden, who I don't know his name off the top of my head. So, in June 2002, Barry Sonnenfeld was hired to direct. He was chosen because he previously collaborated with Rudin and because of his black comedy directing style from The Addams Family, Addams Family Values, and Get Shorty. Sonnenfeld referred to the Lemony Snicket novels as his favorite children's stories. So this was kind of like a passion project for him, which is why he's directing and producing the TV show. The director also hired Handler to write the script with the intention of making Lemony Snicket as a musical and cast Jim Carrey as Count Olaf in September 2002. So it was going to be a musical. Can you imagine that? I don't think it would have been as good.
No, but I'd be interested to see how that would play out.
Well, you know what? Let's get Barry on the line. Bring. Barry? All right, yeah, how's it going? Abby wants a musical version. Who is this? The film suffered setbacks in development in December of 2002. Rudin left unfortunate events over budget concerns because money. While Sonnenfeld and Carey remained, Sonnenfeld admitted that he was skeptical of Paramount's $100 million budget. Can you imagine being in that situation where it's just like, I don't think $100 million is enough money. How am I going to pull this off? Can you just imagine being able to sit there in that meeting and go, let's talk numbers. And the first words out of your mouth is, we need more than $100 million.
I don't think those are words I'll ever say.
No.
You could say them right now. You could fulfill a lifelong dream that you've had for the last 20 seconds.
I don't think that those are words that I would actually say legitimately.
What words would you say?
I don't know.
Pumpernickel?
I don't
I
think
could say
$3 is going to be enough.
$3?
Yeah. Maybe
Man,
It's
that's
a little bit more
$20.
accurate to my life.
Let's go for 2025. That's what I'm thinking. 25 million? No, 25.
$25. I need food for like 2 or 3 days.
Yeah, I just need to buy some white bread. Wonder bread even. Just come on. The studio decided that changing the shoot from Hollywood to Wilmington, North Carolina would be less expensive. The April 2003 start date was also pushed back. Paramount eventually settled the situation in January of 2003 by enlisting help from DreamWorks to co-finance the film, but Sonnenfeld vacated the director's position. So director's gone kaput, even though the money has showed up, so I'm not sure what that means. Rudin and Sonnenfeld had no involvement with the film afterward, but were credited as executive producers because they, got the ball rolling. So Carrey remained with approval over the hiring of the next director. So Brad Sieberling signed on to direct in February 2003. He was not familiar with the series when he first approached. He quickly read the first 3 novels and was excited that Hollywood was taking a chance to put over $100 million to adapt these inventive children's books onto screen. Handler, who wrote 8 drafts of the script for Sonnenfeld, was replaced by Robert Gordon in May 2003.
Wow.
So
that's gotta suck.
Yeah. He said, I was offered credit on the film for screenwriting by the Writers Guild of America, but I didn't take it because I didn't write it. I felt like it would be an insult to the guy who did.
Wow.
So, talk about...
putting a lot of work into something and then being like, yeah, no, it's not my work. I can't take the credit.
But that's so cool of him. To
Yeah.
be like, I didn't write that. I'm not going to take credit for it. Mm-hmm. Like, that's neat. Way to go, Mr. Handler. You get a gold star. Filming was set to begin in October 2003, but it was pushed back because... just push it real good. Principal photography for Lemony Snicket's. No one laughed, so I was just like, moving on. Principal photography began on November 10th, 2003, using the sound stages and backlot at Paramount Studios in Hollywood. Director Brad Sieberling avoided using too many digital or chroma key effects, which is where you use a green screen or a blue screen, because he wanted the younger actors to feel as if they were working in a realistic environment. Olaf's mansion occupied 2 sound stages, while the graveyard and the ruins of the Baudelaire mansion were constructed on the Paramount backlot. So they actually built these places, which is super cool. You can tell when you look at them, it's just like, it's there.
Yeah.
So, very, very neat. After 21 weeks of shooting at Paramount, production then moved to Downey Studios, a former NASA facility in Downey, California. So they went and shot near some spaceship stuff for 8 more weeks. Downey housed the circular railroad crossing set, complete with forced perspective scenery, as well as a newly constructed water tank complete with over 1 million gallons of water, in case you get thirsty. Like, really thirsty. The water tank was instrumental in filming scenes set at Briny Beach, Lake Lacrymos, Damocles Dock, and the Curdled Cave. Filming ended on May 29th of 2004. So that's a pretty, like, getting to that point was pretty, not super rough, not like Deadpool rough, but pretty rough still, like with people cycling in and out. Although the more you look into this stuff in the industry, the more you see directors coming on to projects and leaving projects, and producers just get in and get out, and they just kind of, and it's kind of like, it's a crapshoot who you end up working with on the final thing. So, let's see. Lubeski, who I forget who he is, compared the cinematic similarities to Sleepy Hollow, notably the monochromatic look of both films. He also chose a specific color palette backdrop for a series of unfortunate events. He said, the story is very episodic, so we picked a different color scheme for each section. For example, Count Olaf's house has a lot of greens, blacks, and grays, and the house of Aunt Josephine has blues and blacks. The railroad crossing set was constructed on a cyclorama, that's the word I was looking for earlier, which is a 360-degree enclosure with pretty things painted, which was the most ambitious set piece for the art department on using elements of in-house special effects and matte paintings. So that was the most complicated thing they did, was that 360-degree cyclorama.
Wow.
Super neat, though. Worked out great. I love the way that looked. Industrial Light and Magic, supervised by, this is Stefan with an F, so I know it's Stefan and not Steven.
What if it's Stefan?
It's an E, so I imagine it's not. It's a S-T-F-E-N.
Oh.
No, S-T-E-F-E-N. It's not Stefan. Sven.
Oh, yeah. Sven.
Anyway, his last name is Fangmeyer, so there's that.
Wow.
ILM created the film's 505 visual effects shots, so there's probably a lot more than you caught. The filmmakers used as few digital effects as possible, though the train and the smoke for the railroad crossing scene was entirely created using computer animation. In case you thought trains looked like they were computer generated. They're not. They use metal, sometimes plastic. Also, ILM used animation for the leeches, so...
No way.
No, I'm lying. Those are real Lacrymose leeches.
That's what I thought.
Meryl Streep died 3 times on that set.
Mm-hmm.
So... some people say they wish
Rest
there had
in
been
peace.
more, but those people are jerks. So, Nexus Productions designed the opening Littlest Elf animated sequence by modeling after stop-motion animation and then completing it with computer generated effects. That was hard to say. So they were like, hey, you know what? Do that with clay. Okay, great. I'm going to go do it on my computer now that I can see it. So, interesting. They used kind of a similar process to make the Lego movie, though. They didn't like create everything with Legos first and then do it, but they did a lot of tests, like seeing how the stop motion looked, and then recreated that by using frame rate drops with the animation in their computers for the Lego movie. So, little neat extra fun fact for everybody. Just let that grace your ears.
It's graced.
Oh, good.
Wow, I almost said the same thing at the same time. I was just a little bit delayed.
All right, on 3, we're going to do this one more time.
No.
1, 2, 3.
It's graced.
I was pushed.
You were out of time.
We tried.
The snakes at Uncle Monty's house were a combination of real snakes and animatronics. The animatronics, primarily the incredibly deadly viper, were used as a reference model that ILM later enhanced using CGI. So, because working with infants was sometimes risky in producing a film, like when you're wrapping it in a giant metal snake, 4 scenes involving Sonny Baudelaire required CGI with motion capture technology. So among these are the shot of Sonny hanging from the table. Really sad that wasn't a real baby actually hanging from that table. Catching a spindle in her mouth, which you can kind of tell that one. Although still better than Tarkin. We're just ripping on Tarkin all the time. And the scene where she is entangled with the incredibly deadly viper. So, animation supervisor Colin Bradley used his baby daughter for motion capture recording. So if you're going to make movies and you're going to animate, pop out a couple kids just in case.
Thank you.
You never know when you're going to need one.
No,
I wasn't expecting you to pursue animation.
You never know.
She's over there like, you're threatening me with children and I don't want it.
That's a big money investment.
That is. So many diapers. I already had to buy enough for her. I'm just kidding.
I think she just, killed you with her eyes.
I can feel it. My soul is on fire.
One eyebrow went up and it was terrifying.
You gave me a Count Olaf look. Oh, boy.
What are you saying? I'm a man now?
I just can't win. I'll sleep on the couch. I'm sorry.
Okay. I get the whole bed to myself. Anyway.
Director Brad Sieberling delivered his first cut of the film to the studio in August of 2004. Fearing that his original version was too dark, Paramount and DreamWorks conducted test screenings. The film was then re-edited over family friendliness concerns. So you think it's messed up now? You should see the original edit.
I want to.
I do too. I really do. They should re-release that for the children's who are no longer the children's.
Yeah.
Except at heart, because I believe in hope.
Rebellions are built on hope.
Rebellions are built on hope. Hope. If you haven't listened to the last episode, none of that's going to make any sense. So go back and listen to our review of Rogue One, and you'll get it. Given its December release, the film's marketing campaign was criticized for being a deliberately anti-holiday comedy with taglines like "taking the cheer out of Christmas" and "mishaps, misadventures, mayhem, oh joy." So people were mad about this.
Yeah, of course they were.
But it's brilliant.
It's good. The
whole point of it is that you walk in and the first thing the author of the series does is go, seriously, you should leave. There's still time. It's my solemn duty to tell you this story as it actually happened, but it's not happy. That was the whole... I love that marketing campaign. But, oh well. So, a series of unfortunate events grossed $118 million in the United States and Canada and $90.4 million in other territories for a worldwide total of $209.1 million against a budget of $140 million. So... Wow. Yeah, it didn't do really that well. So that really just makes me sad. In its second weekend, the film fell to second behind Meet the Fockers, grossing $12.6 million. The first weekend, it did $30.1 and was actually first in the box office for that week. But Meet the Fockers is pretty hilarious.
It is a great movie.
So
I remember not liking that, but
whole...
Did you read the books first?
I like Meet the Parents a lot better.
Yeah, Meet the Parents is definitely, I think, the best one in the series. But I hadn't watched those until Katie introduced me to them. So thanks, honey.
She patted herself on the
Can
back.
I sleep on the couch now?
Yes.
I'm in the bed. Darn it! Man, this is a good thing I don't have to negotiate contracts. So it didn't do that well, money-wise. Considering, I mean, $50 million in profit is pretty good, but that's probably not accounting for the marketing budget. So it probably was less than that they actually did. They probably just barely broke even.
Marketing is usually most of it.
Yeah, it's a large chunk of your budget. So it's not the cameras.
Yeah.
You can get a camera from any guy down the street in LA, but getting one to hold a sign, that's the hard part. So although it didn't do well money-wise, it received generally positive reviews from critics. On Rotten Tomatoes, the film has an approval rating of 72%, which is up there with some Marvel movies now, based on 160 reviews, with an average rating of 6.7 out of 10. Not sure how it has a rating of 72% and a 6.7 out of 10, but I don't understand Rotten Tomatoes. Moving on. The site's critical consensus reads, although it softens the nasty edges of its source material, Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events, such a long title, is a gothic visual treat, and it features a hilariously manic turn from Jim Carrey as the evil Count Olaf. On Metacritic, they gave the film a score of 62 out of 100 based on 37 critics, indicating generally favorable reviews. And Metacritic is normally harsher on stuff than Rotten Tomatoes. Robert K. Elder of the Chicago Tribune praised Rick Heinrich's production design and Jim Carrey for having a balanced performance as a scene stealer. Not sure how you're balanced and the scene stealer at the same time, but I don't write reviews. So, no, wait, yes I do. I did it right now.
Oh, no darn.
I know exactly what he meant. And I'll share it with you guys when I feel I can.
He meant that though Jim Carrey is a scene stealer, it wasn't so overwhelming that it was out of balance with the rest of the movie.
Abby's got it.
All right, somebody write that down. Because I'm not going to remember. So,
Good thing we have it recorded.
yay! Elder called the film exceptionally clever, hilariously gloomy, and bitingly subversive.
Great job.
Well, that was a little disconnected, so it's easy to cut.
I'm going to try this one more time. Elder called the film exceptionally clever, hilariously gloomy, and bitingly subversive. Desson Thompson from the Washington Post reasoned over a fellow filmgoer's characterization of Count Olaf. Olaf is a humorless villain in the book. He's not amusing like Carrey at all. To which I would counter, if you can't let Carrey be Carrey, put someone boring and less expensive in the role.
Yeah.
In his various disguises, he's rubbery, inventive, and improvisationally inspired. Which is, if you're an improv actor, that is one heck of a compliment.
Rubbery
Yeah.
is a great word for Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just imagine like he rolls up into a ball at night and just kind of bounces into his bed.
I liked that
He
a
probably
lot.
makes his own bounce sound effects.
He goes, boing, 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 boing. I particularly liked his passing imitation of a dinosaur. So, but there are a lot of people who say, it's not a perfect movie, but I enjoyed it, and so that's kind of the consensus. Paramount Pictures, DreamWorks, and Nickelodeon movies hoped the film would become a franchise like the Harry Potter film series, except less depressing. I added that in. That's not in the article. Jim Carrey thought his character would be good as the basis for a film franchise since it allowed him to dive into a new role. I don't have a deal for a sequel, but it's one that I wouldn't mind doing again because there are so many characters, the actor explained in December of 2004. I mean, it's just so much fun. It's so much fun being a bad actor playing a character, which I agree. I've done that in high school and was able to do something kind of similar. So much fun because you get to kind of like overact it and then like cheese it up for the audience, and you get that feedback. It's fun, especially when they go boo. I'm just kidding. I had a really sad childhood. I'm recovering.
It really bums me out. I wish it did become a series, or at least got one or two more.
Yeah.
Although I'm sure one of those would end up being terrible.
Yeah, but one of them might have not been.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Rebellions are built on hope.
That's true.
In 2005, producer Laurie McDonald said Lemony Snicket is still something Paramount is interested in pursuing, and we're going to be talking with them more. In 2008, Daniel Handler said that a sequel does seem to be in the works. Paramount has had quite a few corporate shakeups, which has led to many a delay. Of course, many, many plans in Hollywood come to naught, but I'm assured that another film will be made. Someday. Perhaps.
Great.
Which is very much in the tone of his writing in the book, so that's pretty great. In June 2009, Sieberling confirmed he still talked about the project with Handler and suggested the sequel be a stop-motion film because the lead actors have grown too old. In an odd way, the best thing you could do is actually have Lemony Snicket say to the audience, okay, we pawned the first film off as a mere dramatization with actors. Now I'm afraid we're going to have to show you the real thing. Which, given the mind that they're in with, people being 30 now, is it's an interesting way to take it. But yeah. But a lot of people did compare it to one, I forget the gentleman's name, but he did say that it was like we got a Tim Burton movie without the strings of childhood trauma.
Yeah.
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 So I loved that review because it was just like, yeah, it's like all the fun of Tim Burton without the crushing soullessness of it. Mm-hmm. Moving on. So the TV series has happened now on Netflix, and I'm pretty sure they own the rights to the series, so I'm pretty sure we're not going to get a new movie, which is unfortunate. The actors are too old, but I do think that it is as far as the Nickelodeon Movies banner goes, it is a standout in their catalog.
Yeah.
Which I think includes like 4 movies, and it's definitely something that I'm glad I bought. It's a lot of fun to watch. Mm-hmm. And
can I say something about the series though?
No, go home.
I'm already home, so.
All right, well, welcome. Come on, say what you're going to say. Glad to have you here.
Well, there's a part in the series that I found really funny. Instead of corner, it said corner.
So,
when
this needs a little bit more explanation.
Yeah, it needs a little bit more explanation. But
when Uncle Monty dies in the TV show, they get on the phone. Mr. Poe gets on the phone and calls for the police and a coroner. When the van shows up, it's the theater troupe, Los Minions, and it just says corner, C-O-R-N-E-R.
That's great.
It's a great joke.
Yeah.
I love that very much. So that is 1 point for the TV show. Fine. That's one.
yeah, and also they did these weird things with this set of parents that.
Yeah, so this is an interesting thing that's not in the books. That's a difference in the TV show. From the very beginning, so the Baudelaire's parents die in the fire, right? Mm-hmm. Then we start to see this couple who talk about getting back to their children throughout the entire first season. And so there's all these parallels drawn. Like Monty says, I'm going to take the kids to Peru, and then the parents are in Peru and they're trying to get their way back to the kids. They get back at the end of spoilers. Sorry, I'm just going to throw this out there. They get back and they're the parents of other children. So it's this misdirection. But I did some research on this because I was confused by it. What happens is they're the parents of the Quigley children, who are characters in the books. Do you know about this, Micah?
No, it's been too long.
Okay, so there's another set of triplet or like 3 kids that are kind of going through the same thing, and I think it's the Quigley kids, and it's their parents. And when the parents arrive home and they're planning to run away with the kids the next day, their house mysteriously catches on fire and they die. And so at the end of the series, or season 1 of the series on Netflix, the Baudelaire children go to this school that I forget the name of, but it's the start of the fifth book in the series, and they sit down on one side of a bench, and on the other side are the children of these other parents who are also involved in the same secret society that the Baudelaire children's parents were involved in. So it's kind of these they're parallels, and so it's an interesting little thing that they threw in there. It wasn't in the books. But, it was a fun little
I was very
misdirection.
confused, though.
Yeah, we get to the end, and it's like they open the door, and they do this whole thing where, they make you think that it's the Baudelaire's parents outside this door, because the doors are the same color, but they're going into a house instead of into the mill, the miserable mill where the Baudelaire children are. And so we get this, misdirection, and then they're, like, hugging other children. And if you don't know anything about the series, or maybe even if you do, it's very confusing.
Yeah, because we were both looking at each other like, what just happened? Why?
I had to Google it. I wanted to be sleeping. So,
But Google is always there for you.
unless you don't have internet,
Yeah,
like if you're in North Korea,
true.
then you just get Kim Jong-il.
What?
Darn it! I don't know my dictator. Sue me.
What?
I tried to turn his name into Google. Kim Jong-un.
Okay, it's fine.
I'm gonna cut that out.
All
Yeah,
right.
Please do.
Or not.
we'll see.
So, but all in all, I definitely would suggest this movie to my family and my friends and my goat.
Well, we're family and friends.
But
And goat.
Yeah.
Goat.
Mike is a goat.
Most people
Actually,
would
that was
make the
nice.
goat noise, and he just eats the microphone.
That's what goats do.
That's wonderful.
They
Do
just
goats
eat
actually
microphones.
eat tin cans?
Yeah, they'll eat.
they'll eat anything.
Anything.
Are you serious? I
Yeah.
always thought that was just a cartoon joke.
They eat everything.
Ooh. Well,
They're the worst.
I got headbutted by a goat named Batman once.
I know you told us that story.
I know, but not on air.
Yeah.
Point is, a black goat named Batman headbutted me while I was hung over the side of a trampoline. Thanks for taking all the fun out of it.
You're welcome. That's what I'm here for.
So, but, well, thank you for joining us here on Roll Sound. We hopefully have proved that we have no business talking about any of this stuff, but
It's fun.
yeah. There we go.
I hit the mic again. I'm sorry.
Stop eating things.
It was my beard.
Oh.
Ew.
I didn't eat my. No,
Oh,
I hit the mic with my beard.
How would you eat your own beard?
I don't
You can
know.
do it.
Ew.
It's right in my mouth.
This is a wonderful thing to watch.
All right. Too bad
Too
you
bad
can't
you
see
can't see. Oh, look.
Jinx.
Visual comedy.
It's our specialty, and we decided to do a podcast.
I'm just not funny.
Irony.
What? I don't think that word means what you think it means. Irony? Is that irony?
Is it not ironic that our main goal is to do things visually, but we're doing a podcast?
I'd say
think-
that's ironic.
I'd say it's more counterintuitive.
Irony is a.
Irony is a pretty good word, though.
I don't know. I feel like I always misuse irony because someone yelled at me in my high school English class. And
It's
now
because
I'm
you
just
think
like-
it's supposed to. You use it as well. Some people do.
I
as,
use
like,
it was
coi-
as how it's
as
defined in the dictionary. What a
coincidental.
jerk.
People.
Yeah, people use it as coincidence. It's whatever.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll
Okay,
just
we'll cut
discuss
this
the
all
word
out.
irony.
Better than discussing the word ironing.
I should probably just keep eating the mic.
So anyway, well, thank you for joining us here on Roll Sound. Join us next week when we talk about. By next week, I mean on the next episode that we posted all together at the same time. But next week-ish in your mind, I'm going to go back and do this again. Thank you for joining us here on Boom Shot. So glad you could.
No.
We're not
I
on
used the
Boom Shot.
wrong name.
Wrong show.
All right. Thank you for joining us here on Roll Sound, not Boom Shot. I didn't have to mention it. I don't know why it's wrong. with me.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us here on Roll Sound. If you want to get in touch with us, you can tweet us. Our Twitter handle, our Twitter handle. It's very late. Our Twitter handle is @RollSoundPod, or you can send us an email. Our email is rollsoundpod@gmail.com, and you can get in touch with us to give us suggestions for future topics, or if you just want to tell us how much you appreciate Micah eating mics. We'll see you next time here on Roll Sound. Bye.
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 Bye.